Marvel's in full meltdown mode. Fantastic Four: First Steps is weeks from release, and it's already a disaster. Emergency reshoots, test screenings called embarrassing, Pedro Pascal fighting to keep his mustache, and a gender-swapped Silver Surfer giving cosmic TED Talks on fatherhood. This isn't a reboot, it's a warning sign, and it might just be Marvel's final fall. So let's break it down. Marvel circled July 25th, 2025 on the calendar like it was their redemption arc. Fantastic Four: First Steps was supposed to be the lifeline, the film that finally brought Marvel's multiverse mess back down to earth. But now, that date is looking more like a countdown to catastrophe. Insiders are whispering that it's not just another bad film, it could be the final nail. The pressure was enormous. Clean up the damage left by the Marvels, Eternals, and Quantumania. But rather than rise from the ashes, this movie seems to be sinking fast. Every new leak, every report from the inside reads like a distress signal. Marvel fans hoped this would be a return to form, but with chaos backstage and confusion on screen, this is less of a comeback and more of a slow-motion implosion. And what's even more alarming, the warning signs aren't subtle, they're screaming. But behind the curtain, the real story started leaking from the people who saw it first. Let's just say, the first audiences didn't walk out thrilled. They walked out stunned. Not in awe, but in disbelief. Test screenings revealed a film that's not just flawed, it's fundamentally broken. Word from insiders is brutal. Scenes meant to be emotional were laughed at. Characters intended to inspire, described as awkward, dull, and weirdly robotic. Even basic pacing is off. One moment cosmic spectacle, the next a therapy session that drags for 10 full minutes. People expected the magic of Marvel's early days. Instead, they got what one insider called a lecture in spandex. And here's the kicker, some audience members thought it was a parody at first. That's how far off the tone is. These screenings weren't just a red flag, they were an emergency flare. And the deeper Marvel dug into the feedback, the more they uncovered a very unexpected source of chaos. Now imagine reshoots in full swing, and the main actor refuses to shave. That's what Marvel ran into with Pedro Pascal, who apparently dug his heels in over one thing: his mustache. It's not a joke. Flashback scenes required a clean-shaven look, but Pascal reportedly refused digital removal, saying the mustache is part of his brand and essential to the performance. The studio pushed. He pushed harder. What began as a minor grooming note spiraled into a full-blown ego standoff. It wasn't about continuity anymore, it was about control. And in a production already hanging by a thread, this became the breaking point. Pascal allegedly argued that removing the mustache would weaken the emotional gravity of his character's past, but his obsession with performance didn't stop there. And what came next was even more surreal. Enter Julia Garner's Silver Surfer, not gliding through galaxies, but floating in place mid-air, delivering a 6-minute monologue about gender roles and parenting styles. Yep, you heard that right. Audiences were expecting cosmic power. They got a TED Talk in zero gravity. The dialogue was so out of place, so disconnected from the plot, that test viewers reportedly laughed out loud. It broke the tone, shattered the pacing, and became the most talked about disaster from the screenings. Marvel scrambled, cutting the scene entirely after it leaked online. But the damage was done. Instead of inspiring awe, it left viewers wondering what movie they were even watching. And that was just one of 2 monologues that derailed the whole thing. The next one came from Pedro himself. Pedro Pascal didn't just want to be the lead, he wanted a legacy moment. He believed his heartfelt monologue on fatherhood would be his endgame moment, the kind that defines a generation. But when cameras rolled, reality hit hard. Crew members called the scene tone deaf. Test audiences? They laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was cringe. One insider said it felt like watching a serious actor reading Hallmark card lines in a superhero costume. Pascal allegedly compared his delivery to Tony Stark's final speech, expecting emotional resonance. What he got instead was unintentional comedy. Even Marvel couldn't salvage it. And when they tried to cut the scene, that's when things got explosive behind the scenes. After his monologue was axed, Pedro didn't take it quietly. He reportedly went straight to Kevin Feige, demanding the scene be reinstated. When that failed, he tried escalating to Bob Iger himself. Not over the script, not even the story, but to save his mustache speech. According to insiders, Pascal was convinced this was his defining moment as a Marvel hero and couldn't accept it being shelved. The calls, the emails, the late-night drama, it all painted a picture of a production spiraling out of control. Instead of unity, there was infighting. Instead of creative passion, there was ego and panic. And Pascal wasn't the only one under fire. Julia Garner's portrayal became the next lightning rod. Julia Garner's casting as a gender-swapped Silver Surfer was already polarizing, but it's her performance that truly stunned viewers. Test audiences described her as emotionless, disconnected, like she was reading from cue cards. And to make things worse, the character's name was reportedly changed to Shia LaBeouf, a not-so-subtle nod to Shia LaBeouf, which only fueled confusion and online backlash. Was it a joke? A meta reference? Nobody knew. Fans expecting a graceful, mysterious cosmic force got a character that felt more like a parody, hovering midair while philosophizing about the meaning of life. It wasn't just awkward, it was bizarre. Instead of mystery or gravitas, Garner's Silver Surfer gave off the energy of a college debate team captain floating through space. But the strange performances were just the surface, because the script itself may be the real source of the chaos. Let's be real, this script didn't come from a place of inspiration. It came from a boardroom echo chamber where the loudest voice wasn't asking, "What would Stan Lee do?" but "What's trending on Twitter?" According to insiders, Fantastic Four: First Steps was greenlit in the thick of Hollywood's 2024 diversity wave, a time when studios were tripping over themselves to check every ideological box, even if it meant sacrificing character, story, and tone. And the script reflects that perfectly. It's a Frankenstein of half-baked themes, buzzwords, and overwritten moments that feel less like superhero storytelling and more like a graduate seminar in cosmic virtue signaling. This is where it all unravels. Because rather than telling a compelling tale about science, exploration, and family, what Fantastic Four has always been about, Marvel handed the keys to writers more interested in messaging than mythos. Scenes are loaded with long-winded speeches about identity, emotional labor, and the cosmic meaning of parenting. Reed Richards doesn't sound like the smartest man in the universe, he sounds like a walking podcast. Sue Storm doesn't feel like the emotional core of the team. She's a reactionary cipher for preachy side characters to monologue at. And here's the kicker. Even Marvel seems to realize they overplayed their hand. With the release just around the corner, scenes are being cut, characters are being reworked, and tone is being desperately patched over. But you can't retrofit Soul into something that was never alive to begin with. This isn't a script that lost its way. It never knew where it was going. And by the time this hits theaters, audiences won't just feel confused, they'll feel insulted. Marvel's betting big on this film, like Endgame level big. Fantastic Four: First Steps isn't just a reboot, it's the foundation for everything that comes next. Secret Wars, the Mutant Saga, the multiverse finale. This movie is supposed to be the spark that lights the entire fuse, but here's the problem. You can't build the future on a foundation that's already cracking. And right now, Marvel's cornerstone looks more like a cautionary tale than a triumphant return. Behind closed doors, panic is spreading. Executives are reportedly holding emergency meetings to salvage the film. Key creatives have gone radio silent, and the marketing team, normally Marvel's most reliable department, is scaling things back. No big Comic-Con push, no early hype tours, not even a confident teaser. Just whispers, delays, and a growing sense that they're trying to hide something. That's not how you launch a blockbuster. That's how you brace for impact. And the saddest part? Fans wanted this movie to succeed. For years, they begged Marvel to give the Fantastic Four the respect they deserved. The blueprint was there. Stick to the comics, honor the legacy, cast actors who feel like a family, and bring back the joy of discovery and adventure. But instead of listening, Marvel chose to double down on the same formula that's been failing them since Eternals. And this time, the stakes are too high for another misfire. Because if First Steps flops, it doesn't just hurt the brand, it pulls the entire MCU timeline into question. Let's rewind for a second. Remember Fan Four Stick? The infamous 2015 disaster that nearly buried the franchise for good? Back then, fans at least had a scapegoat. A young director out of his depth, a rushed production, a studio that panicked mid-shoot. But what's Marvel's excuse now? They've got Disney's money, decades of fan goodwill, and a blueprint for success. And yet, they still managed to deliver something that's being described by insiders as worse than the 2015 version. That's not an exaggeration. While Fan 4-Stick was bleak, this new attempt is being called tonally incoherent, smug, and soulless. It doesn't just miss the point, it actively dodges it. Reed isn't a leader, Sue isn't relatable, Johnny lacks charm, and Ben, one of the most beloved characters in Marvel history, is barely a footnote. Instead of heart, we get lectures. Instead of action, we get allegory. Instead of chemistry, we get awkward, mismatched scenes that feel like they were written by committee and shot in panic. Marvel didn't just miss the mark, they vaporized it. And fans can tell. There's a kind of disappointment that comes from watching a studio you once trusted completely lose the plot. This film was supposed to be their return to form. Instead, it's a reminder of how far they've strayed. At the center of all this is a team with no chemistry. Vanessa Kirby, cast as Sue Storm, was described as completely forgettable. No spark with Reed, no warmth with Johnny, no tension with Doom. Each actor seems to be in their own world, performing lines instead of living in the roles. This is a story built on relationships, yet the dynamic is cold, disconnected, and uncomfortable. Even the group scenes reportedly feel like strangers rehearsing next to each other, not a family fighting for survival. It's not just awkward, it's damaging. The Fantastic Four are supposed to be a team we care about. Here, they're a group of isolated personalities wrapped in sleek costumes and empty dialogue. So what's Marvel's plan? Apparently, just keep hiding the problem. The teaser trailer finally dropped, and fans immediately knew something was off. No character dialogue, no plot hints, just vague visuals, dramatic music, and quick flashes of floating figures. It was a trailer built to hide the movie, not promote it. And insiders confirmed the strategy. Marvel slashed marketing and buried all signs of controversy. The idea? Delay the backlash, push curiosity, avoid triggering any online outrage until it's too late to pull back. But fans are catching on fast. The trailer didn't create buzz, it created suspicion. People saw the gaps, the awkward editing, the lack of anything that actually felt like Fantastic Four. And that's when the realization started setting in. This wasn't a reboot, it was something far worse. This wasn't a bold, new chapter. It was a quiet farewell wrapped in shiny visuals. Echoes of Fan 4-Stick, 2015, are everywhere. But this time, it's wearing Disney's corporate armor and a script that feels like it was written by a committee. There's no joy, no spark, no soul. It's not a story, it's a checklist, representation, check, viral moments, check, mustache debate, weirdly, check. But storytelling, heart, adventure, all gone. This wasn't a revival of Marvel's greatest team, it was a funeral dressed like a launch party. And with audiences already skeptical, this may not just be a flop, it might be the one that breaks the MCU's back. Because once you see the final product, there's only one way to describe what's happening. Marvel named it First Steps, but everything about this feels like a final misstep. What should have been the dawn of a new era has turned into a panic-fueled patch job, plagued by monologues, mustaches, and missed connections. Instead of soaring into cosmic greatness, it's drifting aimlessly through studio notes and half-finished scenes. This was meant to fix the Marvel brand. Instead, it might be the one that breaks it for good. Because if Fantastic Four can't deliver, if even Marvel's first family gets turned into content soup, what's left? The MCU may survive this, but not unchanged. And if things don't turn around fast, this won't be remembered as a comeback. It'll be remembered as the day the magic officially faded.